Last night, the Bannock County Historical Museum hosted a presentation on the history of Pocatello's red light district. KPVI News that works for you journalist Kylie Gibson was there and joins us from the newsroom with more on that. Kylie.
Thanks, Misty. Last night, Arlen Walker, the president of the Bannock County Historical Museum, talked about the history of the red light district in the 19th and 20th centuries. Late 1800s to the early 1900s, Pocatello had a red light district, which was half a block that contained adult theaters, brothels, and prostitution. Red Light District got its name from the red lights placed outside of the buildings that contained those things.
It was only about a block away from the most heavily saloon and gambling area of the city, about a block and a half, whole rows of one saloon and restaurant after another. And of course, it was a transient town with workers coming in, workers going out, and it was on the main road between Salt Lake and Montana and the freighter routes to Boise through the old Oregon Trail routes.
Back then, prostitution was very profitable, and Walker wants to emphasize at that time it was a voluntary operation and not a forced one.
The women were their own bosses, their own, controlled their own destiny, actually. And in many of the early maps, the area is listed as female boarding, which eventually became what we would now call the red light district, or the, and eventually a fence was built around it, and it was called the Walled City. And even though it was ignored by polite society pretty much, everybody knew it was there, and they just considered it a part of life in a frontier town.
In April 1907, there was a county-wide movement to ban prostitution and a citywide movement to keep it going. In May 1907, 52 women were each fined $13 for prostitution. Part of the reason the city wanted to keep it going was because it was a large source of income for the community as a whole.
There were parlor houses, which were basically brothels with a bar and a piano player and a madam. Many of them became very wealthy. In some of the early Idaho mining and logging communities, they became the benefactors of social institutions, buying band uniforms for schools, funding civic events, that sort of thing. And then there were the individual operatives that worked out of areas. In Pocatello, they were called the cribs in the walled city, which were small, basically little one-room apartments where women were their own bosses.
For more information on the Bannock County Historical Museum, you can visit their website on your screen. Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Kylie Gibson.